Most people quit right before the breakthrough happens. They walk away from the business when the algorithm is about to favor them. They stop learning economics when understanding is about to compound. They give up on wealth when the seed is just about to break through the soil. Listen, just because you don't see results doesn't mean results are not happening. The problem is not that success is hard. The problem is that quitting is easy. Most people misunderstand how success really grows because they expect progress to be loud, fast, and visible. But in economics, compound growth is quiet in the beginning and explosive at the end. And the same law applies to your effort, your knowledge, your brand, and your income. When you start learning, creating content, building a business, or studying economics, the returns look almost invisible. You might feel like nothing is happening, but something powerful is being built beneath the surface. Every book you read, every skill you practice, every video you publish is like depositing a small amount into a compound interest account that most people don't even know exists. The hook is this: the early stage is supposed to feel slow, and the people who quit in this stage never experience the exponential phase. Think about how money grows in a compound interest model. In the first few years, the growth is almost flat. Then suddenly, the curve turns upward and becomes unstoppable. Your life follows the same curve. Your influence follows the same curve. Your income follows the same curve. The problem is not that the curve is broken. The problem is that most people exit the curve too early. They stop investing in themselves right before the interest starts earning interest. They walk away when the system is about to reward consistency. Here's the truth that shocks people. Effort compounds. Discipline compounds, learning compounds, and relationships compounds, but only for those who stay long enough. Imagine planting a seed and digging it up every week to check if it's growing. You would destroy the growth process. Many people do the same with their goals. They quit, restart, quit again, and wonder why nothing compounds. The hook is this: compounding requires patience, and patience is the rarest economic asset in the modern world. If you stay consistent while others quit, you don't just grow. You separate your knowledge stacks, your audience stacks, your opportunity stack. And one day, what felt like slow progress turns into unstoppable momentum. The invisible phase is not failure. It is preparation for exponential success. In economics, delayed gratification is the discipline of sacrificing short-term pleasure for long-term gain. And this single principle separates consumers from creators, employees from entrepreneurs, and average earners from wealth builders. Most people are programmed to choose comfort today over growth tomorrow. And that mindset quietly keeps them trapped. They want fast money, instant results, viral success, and overnight wealth. But economics teaches a brutal truth. Systems that create real wealth reward patience, consistency, and long-term thinking. The hook is this: if you chase instant rewards, you sacrifice exponential rewards. Every financial market, every business model, and every investment strategy is built on the idea that waiting creates leverage. When you invest in stocks, businesses, or education, the real payoff comes years later, not tomorrow. Your skills are an economic asset that appreciates over time, but only if you are willing to delay comfort. Reading instead of scrolling, building instead of consuming, saving instead of spending. These are economic decisions, not motivational quotes. And here's the shock: most people are financially poor not because they lack money, but because they lack patience. Delayed gratification is what allows entrepreneurs to work without applause, creators to post without views, and investors to hold when markets are uncertain. The modern world trains your brain to expect dopamine instantly, likes, money, pleasure, entertainment, but wealth is built in environments where gratification is postponed. The hook is this: your future income is directly tied to how long you can tolerate not being rewarded. Think about a student who studies economics for years before earning high income, or a business owner who reinvests profits instead of spending them. That discipline creates compounding advantage. While others consume, they accumulate. While others spend, they scale. While others quit, they build systems that pay them later. In economic terms, delayed gratification converts time into capital. It turns effort into equity. It turns learning into leverage. Most people fail, not because they are incapable, but because they are impatient. They want proof before persistence. They want profit before process. But economics never works that way. Markets reward those who stay invested, and life rewards those who stay committed. If you can delay gratification while others chase comfort, you don't just win, you dominate the game. In economics, opportunity cost is the value of the best alternative you give up when you make a decision, and quitting carries one of the highest hidden opportunity costs imaginable. Most people think quitting only costs them their current effort, but in reality, quitting costs them future income, future leverage, future reputation, and future compounding returns. The hook is this: the real price of quitting is paid in the future, not in the present. When you stop building a business, you don't just lose today's profits, you lose tomorrow's customers, next year's partnerships, and a decade of brand equity. When you stop creating content, you don't just lose views, you lose audience growth, algorithm, momentum, and monetization opportunities that were accumulating quietly. When you stop learning economics or skills, you don't just lose knowledge, you lose higher paying roles, strategic thinking ability, and decision-making power. Opportunity cost is invisible, which is why most people underestimate it. Every decision to quit redirects your time and energy into something else, usually comfort, distraction, or low-value activity. That means you are not only giving up what you were building, but you are also choosing a lower return alternative. The hook is this: quitting is an investment in a smaller future. Staying is an investment in a bigger one. Economically, that is a catastrophic trade-off. Think about entrepreneurs who quit after 2 years because profits were slow. The opportunity cost is the business they could have owned in 10 years. Think about investors who sell during market dips. The opportunity cost is the compounded wealth they would have had if they stayed invested. Think about students who quit learning because it feels hard. The opportunity cost is the career trajectory they never reached. In every case, quitting destroys future upside. In economic terms, quitting eliminates optionality. When you persist, you keep options open. Options to scale, to pivot, to monetize, to partner. When you quit, those options collapse. The hook is this: persistence preserves opportunity. Quitting destroys it. Even if your current strategy fails, staying in the game allows you to redirect with accumulated experience and credibility, which dramatically increases your future earning potential. Most people calculate cost only in terms of effort and discomfort, but high performers calculate cost in terms of foregone opportunities. They understand that the biggest losses in life are not visible losses, but invisible gains that never materialize because someone gave up too early. In economics, rational actors maximize future value, and the most rational decision is often to stay when others walk away. In economics, the law of increasing returns explains why small actions can suddenly create massive outcomes once scale and leverage are achieved. Early effort often produces modest results, but as systems grow, each additional unit of input creates disproportionately larger output. The hook is this: your first results are linear, but your later results are exponential. Most people quit during the linear phase, never realizing they were approaching the exponential phase where effort multiplies instead of adds. When you build skills, your first hours of learning produce small gains. But once you reach competence, every new skill stacks on the previous one and increases your earning power dramatically. When you create content, your first videos may get 0 views. But once you build audience trust and algorithmic momentum, each new video can reach thousands or millions with the same effort. When you run a business, your first customers barely cover costs. But once systems, branding, and referrals kick in, each new customer costs less to acquire and generates more profit. The hook is this: scale turns effort into leverage. Increasing returns happen when systems, networks, and knowledge reinforce themselves. A strong brand attracts customers automatically. A loyal audience markets for you for free. A refined process reduces costs while increasing output. In economics, this is why large firms dominate industries and why top creators dominate attention. They are not working harder. They are operating in a system where returns accelerate with scale. Your job is to stay in the game long enough to build that system. Most people misunderstand growth because they expect proportional returns. They think 10 times the effort should produce 10 times the results. But economics often rewards 10 times the effort with 100 times the results. If the system is built, the hook is this: increasing returns reward builders, not starters. Starting is easy. Building to scale is rare. Scaling is where wealth is created. Consider how digital platforms, intellectual property, and automation work. A course created once can sell thousands of times. A video uploaded once can generate income for years. A book written once can build authority for decades. These are economic structures with increasing returns, where time and effort become assets rather than expenses. Every system you build converts labor into leverage, and leverage is the language of wealth. In personal economics, increasing returns also apply to reputation, relationships, and credibility. The more people trust you, the easier it is to attract opportunities. The more results you create, the faster results multiply. The hook is this: momentum is an economic asset, and scale turns momentum into money. If you persist through the low return phase, you position yourself in a high return environment where every action has multiplied impact. In economics, many people obsess over timing the market, trying to enter at the perfect moment and exit at the perfect moment. But history consistently proves that persistence outperforms perfect timing. Markets are unpredictable, cycles fluctuate, and conditions change. Yet those who remain invested capture the upside when shifts occur. The hook is this: you don't need perfect timing, you need persistent positioning. Most people miss success not because they enter too early or too late, but because they refuse to stay long enough for timing to work in their favor. Think about investors who waited for the right moment to buy assets. Many stayed on the sidelines while markets grew, compounding wealth for those who stayed invested. The same principle applies to careers, businesses, and content creation. Waiting for the perfect strategy, perfect product, or perfect conditions often leads to paralysis. Persistence, on the other hand, allows you to adjust, learn, and evolve while staying in the game. The hook is this: timing is external, persistence is internal, and internal factors are the only ones you control. In entrepreneurship, those who persist through market fluctuations capture opportunities when competitors quit. In personal development, those who persist through confusion achieve clarity and mastery. In digital platforms, those who persist through low engagement benefit when algorithms shift. Persistence creates exposure to positive randomness. Timing is a gamble. Persistence is a strategy. Economically, persistence increases optionality. When you stay active in a market, you have options to pivot, scale, collaborate, or innovate. When you wait on the sidelines, you have no leverage and no learning curve advantage. The hook is this: persistence turns uncertainty into opportunity. Every day you stay in the market, you gather data, experience, and credibility. That improves your probability of success. Many people try to predict the future instead of positioning themselves for it. But economics favors those who are consistently present when opportunities arise. You don't have to know when the next boom will happen. You just have to be there when it does. Markets reward participation, not prediction. In personal economics, persistence also builds psychological capital. Confidence grows with consistent action, and competence grows with repeated practice, while others wait for certainty. Persistent individuals create certainty through repetition. The hook is this: the market pays those who stay, not those who speculate. If you remain engaged, adaptable, and disciplined, timing becomes a minor factor, and persistence becomes your greatest economic advantage. In economics, human capital refers to the value of your skills, knowledge, experience, discipline, and mindset, and it is one of the most powerful assets any individual can own. Unlike physical capital, human capital appreciates when you invest in it and depreciates when you neglect it. The hook is this: you are the most valuable economic asset you will ever own. And most people never invest in themselves. Like an asset, they treat their time casually, their learning casually, and their habits casual, then wonder why their income stays casual. Every hour you spend learning, practicing, reading, building, and creating increases your economic value in the marketplace. Skills increase earning power. Knowledge increases decision-making quality. Discipline increases productivity. Networks increase opportunities. These are not motivational ideas. These are economic variables that determine your market price. The hook is this: your income is a reflection of how much you have invested in your human capital. If you want higher returns, you must increase the principal investment, and that investment is you. Human capital compounds just like financial capital. When you learn one skill, it makes the next skill easier to learn. When you build one habit, it strengthens your ability to build another habit. When you achieve one success, it attracts more opportunities. Economically, this creates a positive feedback loop where growth accelerates over time. But when you quit, procrastinate, or stay stagnant, your human capital stagnates or even depreciates in a rapidly evolving market. The hook is this: in a fast-moving economy, standing still is the same as moving backward. Organizations pay premiums for high human capital because skilled individuals create leverage. A highly skilled person can produce results that would require dozens of average workers. That is why top performers earn exponentially more than average performers. They are not working harder, they are working with higher value skills and systems. Your job is to upgrade your personal operating system through learning, practice, and strategic exposure. Investing in human capital often feels slow because the returns are delayed. You study for years before earning more. You practice for months before mastering a skill. You build for a long time before monetizing. The hook is this: human capital pays delayed dividends, but those dividends can last a lifetime. Every skill you acquire becomes an asset that can generate income repeatedly across different opportunities. Most people focus on external assets like money, property, or businesses, but those assets are controlled by people with high human capital. If you increase your ability to think, create, communicate, and solve problems, you increase your leverage in any economic system. Your mind, habits, and skills are your economic engine, and investing in them is the highest return strategy available. So don't quit right before it starts working. Don't walk away from your future because your present is uncomfortable. Don't stop planting because you haven't seen the harvest. Remember this: quitting guarantees failure. Persistence makes failure temporary. Stay in the game, stay in the process, stay in the discomfort, because the moment you are thinking of quitting might be the exact moment success is thinking of finding you.